right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got something special for you today. I have a new bead friend. Julianna is here with us today. And for those of you who don't know, she invented this bad boy Jewel Loom that we used just a couple of weeks ago in one of my videos. So, Julianna, please introduce yourself. Let us know about you.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I'm like over the top, honored, thrilled, excited. I'm so happy. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Julianna Jules. A lot of people call me Jules. That's my nickname. And I've been in the hobby, craft, gift, stationery, jewelry world like my whole entire life. So started with Aleen's Creative Living, which Aleen Jackson invented tacky glue. So I went on an interview one day and they said, look for the paintbrushes on the side of the wall. And it was Artists Incorporated, which I had no clue. I was like barely 20 something, just had Josh, my son.
Right.
And I ended up at Aleen's Creative Living, which was the #1 television show at that time, all over the country, Canada. And so that's where it all started for me. And that's where I got the bead bug.
That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
In your 20s too. I mean,
wow. And what a blessing to be mentored and taught by the pioneer of, the creative industries. I mean, Aleen Jackson, right? And I was just this, little 20 something, and she was bigger than life. And so I learned a lot of hard life and business lessons, but they have definitely helped me to get to where I'm at today. So forever grateful to her and her family, and her daughter, Tiffany, and I are still besties. And yeah, so super cool.
Well, speaking of business, I know you are in the business of some looms.
Yes.
So my question to you is, with all the looms that were already on the market, why did you invent this loom? And tell me how you came up with the loom.
Right. So while I was at Aleen's, Aleen had a loom. And we all got the beading frenzy. So, we were taping, it seemed like 24/7, it was a big production, a big television show. And when we did get a break, we just wanted to eat and like just meditate, right? Like just chill out. And so we would take the loom and we would have beads all over the green room. I'm telling you, it was like, the fishing tackle boxes, just everywhere, just beads everywhere. And we would be eating our rice. And so I just fell in love with it. It really was this beautiful way to create. And I actually started doing beads in a bag back then. So I had inspirations by Julianna and had come up with kits. They were called Beads in a Bag. And I was selling them on Aleen's, and also all the jobs that I had and the on-air talent that I was doing for them. And I just remember thinking to myself, one day I want my own loom. And that was, it might've been in the late 90s. And then it just kind of came, scrapbooking took over the world. And then
been there, done that.
I was teaching people how to put artistic wire on their scrapbook pages. It was like insanely fabulous craziness. But when that kind of chilled in 2008, 2009, when the market, crashed and everything, that whole industry also mellowed. And I just remember, I had brought artistic wire into the industry already. And I remember talking to Beadalon, and I was just like, I'd like to have my own loom. And so I literally, I brought out all the goods for everyone. So I literally rolled out the loom.
Oh my gosh.
It's air dry paper clay, air dry.
Yeah.
So here's all the little grooves.
Yeah.
And then basically sent that, to become a drawing. I had to get it into a CAD system. And then from there, went to Beadalon, hired an attorney, and then here's the first 2 prototypes. So here's 1 out of 1 and 2 out of 2. These are the first 2 that ever came out of the mold.
Wow, that's so cool. I love it. I love that you still have those. That's so cool.
And I wanted, what my experience had been is that, there was a tremendous amount of waste, right? Because in most looms, you were going around and around and around. And I was like, well, and back in the day, we were weaving with fishing line. So I just came across, a spool of fishing line from like way back, probably from the 90s or early 2000s, like seriously. And, so, we weren't really paying attention to that kind of a cost, but then when you start using wildfire and leather, you're like, wait a minute, this is all wasted, right? You couldn't do anything with it. And so the buttons are a big part of the patent.
Right.
And yeah, and then, it just birthed. I really got lucky, thank God. I got the patent on the first submission. Like, it's unheard of.
Yeah. It was meant to be.
Yeah. And then the registration mark just finally for Jewel Loom, I think it's been, because it had, you have to use something for 5 years.
Right.
And so it's been definitely 5 years. So a couple of years ago, I got that, and yeah, it's just been, I just wanted my own loom.
Hello. You don't ask too much, do you?
But from a business standpoint, having, my whole career has been about helping the independent, like when I was with Artistic Wire, when I was a spokesperson for all the Ben Franklins, when, in anything and everything I've ever done over this 25 whatever plus years, I've always had that great opportunity to help the independent. And so I knew that the bead shops had been struggling, paint shops. If you weren't carrying paper, you were like crickets, right?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, bead loom and beads are going to really help. And so it just, everything is in divine time. And that conversation with Beadalon, we knew each other. And so it just worked out. They were the perfect manufacturing partner to team up with, and it just all worked out. So It was just meant to be. And, it's been a blessing to a lot of people, like all over the world. It's just incredible.
Yes. And it is so cool. And I remember, I took let's see, the first time I was actually introduced to your loom, and I had used your loom, was back in 2019 at the last bead button. I took a class. It was on using your loom to do a pair of earrings, these beautiful Southwestern inspired earrings. And I was like, okay, this loom is very cool. I really, really loved playing with it. So I ended up, when the baby came out, I had to have the baby too.
Of course.
Yes. So I love these looms. Now, these are not your only looms, correct? You've come up with others.
I did. Well, so the first intention with the original Jewel Looms, and that's how I refer to them, was to just get people to start doing something, right? And to help the bead shops sell beads. And so it was, here's an idea, here's how you do it. But then later on in life, as I started to experience some things that weren't so fabulous, I had a little storm come through my life.
Yeah.
And I always wanted a wood loom, but wood looms, to manufacture wood looms in our world, they're pretty cut and dry. They are what they are. And I didn't want that. I wanted expression. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. And I wanted that connection mostly with that female, right? That woman, that beautiful goddess body on the other side there to connect with. And so I designed the weaving goddess looms, and where are they? My dad bought me this bigger than life chair. It's awesome, but I'm like Lily Tomlin.
I love it.
It's so big.
Wow, look at all those back there. That's amazing.
So I introduced that line on Jewelry Television, November 2019. And that line was all about mixing fibers and beads, taking it to the next level, and just really, really trying to help women mostly to just look at themselves and be happy and find that joy and that love for their bodies, and to really create more from the soul than just here's some beads, here's a project, make it. So that really was birthed from this personal space too, of just needing to be able to express myself. And then last year, the Wisdom Warrior was birthed. And so that's these two. They're really strictly for beading. And although you can, of course, you can do fibers and stuff, but they're also more about my faith, right? So things have transitioned for me a lot, and my walk with the Lord has just like really been profound over the last 2 years. And so on the back of these looms, they both have the Esther scripture. And I know, I'll show you. Oh. Okay. So, yeah. So they have the sword and the heart, and then they have the Esther 4:14.
I love it.
And so they're more, it's all storytelling, right? It's just kind of this journey of where we are, where we've been. And I just feel like that weaving it's just such a gift, and it's so healing. And you can, I don't know, for me, it's just been, like this was my bracelet I made when my Portuguese grandma passed away. I sat up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning weaving this.
Wow.
And it was all the colors that represented her life and my memories of, her on the ranch and how we grew up. And I was able to just really pour myself into that project and be with her in a sense, on that first day of her going. And so, I'm like, I keep telling everybody, okay, I'm done.
No way. No.
I'm not going to have another loom, because last year it was like,
Oh my
but I can't help it.
That is amazing. So now I am new to your larger loom that you have behind you as well. So what would one loom on that? Is that going to be more for I
gotta stand up.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
So we've done chokers, we've done hat bands, we've done production work, right? Production work, meaning like a lot of the girls have weaved, warped the loom, and then they'll make massive amounts of pendants or rings because you can, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So production type. If you're doing your craft fairs or your boutiques or what have you. Yeah. And so, so there's 24 or 25 inches from this grid to this grid. And then we have it to where you can go to the back. So you could do up to 50 inches.
Wow. That is wild. Kelly Dale needs that in her life. I'm going to have that.
Yes. And so it's very similar to the original loom in that, I've got the button here. So you tie around the button and then you come back to the end. And then if you were to work it, around, there's a grid right here. There's a grid here. And then you would just go all the way up to the top.
Wow.
There's 4 inches, about 4 inches wide. So I think that's 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches. I can't remember. But yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, super, super awesome. And so, and then there's the fiber. I just have the basic fiber loom. So like if people want to, try it for, a good price. That basic rectangle square is available, and there's regular squares and circles and
Yeah, because I follow you on Instagram. And so for those who don't know, you need to follow her because she does some really cool Instagram stuff. But I love to watch you do the fiber on there because I'm like, girl's got patience. Let me tell you, I would be pulling my hair out trying to do. Look at that. Oh,
isn't that fun?
I love it. That is
And this is easy peasy pumpkin squeezy, right? You just put your rows of seed beads, if you want to, just, I like to lock it in.
Yeah.
And then, there's fibers in here and sari ribbon. And I always say if it's not moving, it's fair game.
Hey, talk about expressing yourself. I mean, honestly, that is amazing. I love that. I love that.
It's so fun. It's fun. It warms my heart.
And as we were talking, you and I just a little bit earlier, I was telling you that, I had done a project with the loom a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just going to be 100% transparent here, everybody who's watching. When I work this loom and I try to take this bar out, it is literally the biggest hot mess you have ever seen. Like, I end up taking everything apart and starting over again. So that's why I reached out. I was like, okay, teach me how to take this bar out easy, because I can't be the only one on the planet. Issue. So,
right. And I think it's, I'm so happy that we're talking about this. So I think one of the most important things to remember is that the plastic is flexible. Mm-hmm. It's not bendable. Okay. So if you can psychologically try to get that into, and of course, Marlon Brando's out there barking, sorry. Lacey's not in here snoring. But so the plastic is flexible, not bendable. And if you can really just try to understand that, I think that will help a lot of people, because I think sometimes they want to think it can be bendable, but it's not, it's flexible. Right. All right. So that's really a something to think about. The other thing is that if you're storing it somewhere where it's super cold, and we've talked a lot about this, that plastic can harden. So I know this may sound crazy, but warm it up,
Okay.
All right. Like what? But yeah, we've actually there's a group of us that have just really kind of studied this. And, so those are just two little tips, two little things. But the rod, is a very interesting little character. So I always check the rods before I ship everything out. Sometimes I have found that the factory may have made the rods to where they're poking in too much.
Okay.
And when I say too much, it's seriously like a hair. So I'll take the flat nose pliers and it's not an angry tug. It's just like a little, it's almost like, well, that didn't really do anything, but it did. It's just a little pull back.
Okay.
And then let me see, maybe I'll go to my other camera. Let's see if this is, well, first, let me see if I can stand up, and because it's all beads and belly, by the way. God gave us this.
You're black. It's slimming. You're great.
Yeah. It's all beads and belly. So when I take the loom, and I'm going to put the rod in that bottom hole, right?
Yep.
And then I bring in the belly. And so the loom is in front of me. And then I bring the loom up and snap it in.
Right.
Okay. Now, if it didn't want, if I go to look at, it doesn't want to come out, I turn it and I let the tension reverse.
Okay.
Okay. It still doesn't want to come out. Now it does.
Okay.
So that little trick of turning just seems to shift that tension. It's really bizarre.
Okay.
So again, I'll snap it in. This time it came right out. But if I ever get to a point where it won't, I'll just turn it.
Okay. So when you are actually popping it out, are you giving it any pressure, on each end? Like when you put it up to your stomach, are you giving it pressure so it bends in a little bit more, or?
Not too much, not too much. Because again, it's flexible, not bendable. We don't want it to snap. So
Okay.
it's just a little bit. That's why I use my belly that God gave me.
Okay.
So see right there, it didn't want to come out. There's just a little, here, I'll do it slower. You can see it kind of coming up a little bit, not too much. But it just shifts that tension. But honestly, if that's what you do, we find that it works each and every time. Nobody's ever had like, oh my gosh, it won't come out, right? Mm-hmm. It just shifts that tension. I don't know. It's really bizarre how that works, but how are you stuck? Are you in there?
I got it out.
Yeah.
But so our little pegs on the end, you're saying if you're having a hard time getting it out, just a smidge.
It's totally a smidge. It's almost like, well, that didn't do anything, you know, but I obviously, because they've been out for what, 13, 12 years, whatever it's been, I know I could just tell by eyesight, like, you know, if I open up a package and I look at the rod, I can tell that maybe they're in just seriously a hair off. And I'll just take the flat nose pliers and just bend it back a little bit. Like yours. I mean, yours seems to be fine. Yeah, in fact, it seems like those are almost more wider than mine. So whoops, yeah, that's a camera.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right?
Good deal.
Yeah. But really, I think if you just do that little turning trick, it's crazy how it releases the tension. And yeah. And then when I take it, so, he's blessing us with his presence. So the whole rod thing, these looms have been warped, I'm serious, like since 2015 or 2014. So, you know, we talk a lot about, well, why do you take the rod out? And I'll talk about that in a second here, but these two looms, this is leather, right?
Right.
So, and they literally have been sitting around since probably 2015, maybe. Yeah. They've got my maiden name. So 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. But that's a long time. They've been, you know, warped, but you could tell like this one started to flatten. This one, there's not that big, you know, big of a difference.
Right.
If you're warping with a material that's going to stretch, or like if you're doing strips of jeans, you know, I've done that before. There's no oomph, right? There's no, it's going to fall.
Yeah.
So you could keep the rod in that situation for sure. But the whole reason why we take the rod out, you know, like this one I have warped almost the entire width.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't. I haven't. Obviously, I haven't.
Work in progress.
Yeah, since what last name is on here? Yeah, since 2015, 2016. But when you remove the rod, you know, the loom flexes back out. And so then that's how your warps get really nice and tight.
Gotcha.
And then you can see my back sides.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't need the tape. Or now I have used the tape, the blue tape, when I use those fabrics.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what I've had to do, because I'm like, I cannot get this far out. So
that's so funny.
Painter's tape to hold it, so that way my tension stays nice. But man, if I could do it without having to worry about that little bar being in the way.
Yeah. And you know, this one right here, this actually is my old married name. And I taught this at JTV like in 2013 or 14. And it's so, you know, you can see that it really holds its warp and everything once the loom flexes. But I can, you want me to warp one?
I would love anything that you want to teach us. We are here for.
All right, let me do that. Okay, I'm going to see. Let me go to this other camera here. And then you tell me if it's okay. Awesome.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So I'm going to get this back in. Okay. Oh, let me use my belly.
So for your jewel looms, when you are doing you're going to put in just some regular, let's say you're going to do size 11 delicate beads. Do you have a favorite thread that you like to work these with? Or are you just kind of like I am, whatever's closest and whatever floats my boat that day?
Yeah. See, this is funny. Did you just see the same exact rod, same exact loom, and it won't go in? It's like, I'm gonna give you a hard time. There we go. But all I did was take my flat nose and bend back that rod a little bit. And say that again.
So
what's my favorite?
Yes, like say you're warping it and you're going to use some size 11 delicates to say like make a pair of earrings. Do you have a favorite thread that you like to use on that for seed beads, or is it just kind of whatever you feel at the moment?
Well, in all honesty, I not only have, obviously, I have a long-standing relationship with Beadalon, but I love Wildfire. Like, regardless of whether, we're dating or not, I love Wildfire. That doesn't mean that you can't use, Soft Flex has a product. I love Super G as well. The, the beading thread. Is that what it's right? Super G? That expensive, real expensive.
G.
What's it called?
1 O-N-E, 1G.
There you go.
Yeah. Super G, and I was like, wait, I don't know about this. I'm used to that. What is that?
I know. I like that. And because it's got, beautiful colors, but really the Wildfire for me has just always been my number one go-to, and it works so well with the loom that I just definitely have an allegiance to that. So
I understand. I am all about Kelly Taylor is one of my reps there. And
I love Kelly.
She and I talk all the time about how I love that brown, their new brown, like light tan, not beige.
Yeah, I just ordered some.
I swear, when that came out, I used that on everything. Like everything got that color.
That's so
it's just such a cool color to use. So I see you're using the red.
Yep. So I'm going to use red just because of the camera and lighting and stuff like that. But I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And so when I tied back to the button here, and the button here is closest to my body, and the loom is somewhat straight in front of me. It's at a little bit of an angle because of the camera, but I did 3 little knots.
Okay.
And the knots, I want them to follow me. So I want them, well, let me correct that. I want the knots to be facing me.
Okay.
Because what I have found can happen is that, say, for instance, you tie behind the button and then you go and you pull the thread towards you. Well, then somewhere along the way, it moves. And that's where the first warp will drop. Because you know what I'm saying? So there's that little bit of excess right there. And that's all it takes for that first warp to drop. So I grab it and I tug on it just to make sure it's really nice and tight. And then I grab the loom and I'm just going to place it down into one of the grooves.
Right.
And then I flip it over. And I'm constantly just, testing. Do I have enough strength? Am I pulling tight enough? Flip it over, come around that back button. Did I just go blurry?
Yeah, you went blurry. Yeah, you're still blurry.
I'm still blurry. That is so weird.
So blurry.
Why does it do that? Why does my $150 Logitech Brio, come on Logitech, I'm calling you out right now. I'm not happy. That is so weird. Okay, let me come back up. Oh my heck. Isn't that odd?
It's technology. I swear, it is technology.
Okay. So we're just going to have to do the stand-up performance. Okay. So I still have, and let me just make sure because of that little drama. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to skip 3 grooves.
Okay.
So 1, 2, yep, okay. And then go forward. So I'm always holding, kind of got it down to where I can eyeball it and see it.
Yeah,
After all this time, I could probably do it
exactly.
blind.
You don't have to do like I do and make little places.
Little knots. Yeah.
No, it's even.
That's a great idea though. Okay, so I'm only going to do 3 and then I'll wrap that wildfire a couple of times around the back.
Okay.
I need new, my tools rust here at the harbor so bad because I'm so, I'm close to the water. So,
I love it.
okay. So the ultimate goal, as you know, is just to get this tied off, right?
Yeah.
So however you get there is fine. I'll come under the warps. And sometimes in this situation, I'll bring my flats in just to act as another hand.
Yeah. Look at you. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, like why not, right? Okay, and then I'll just do this a couple of times.
I'm learning so much today on this loom. This is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm thrilled. I just, my greatest wish is just for everyone to understand how to use it and then make fabulous, things that make your soul happy. And okay, so I'm going to trim that and then let's come back up here. Okay.
All right.
So what I do is I'll take my pointer finger and I'll lay that on top of the grooves.
Okay.
On top of the warps. Okay. So just, to let everyone know, these are warps, right? They go straight up and down. And I'll put my pointer finger and I'm holding those warps and then pop it out.
You make it look so easy.
And so you see how it further expands. And so that's where the tightness, the super tightness.
Yes, that's where your guitar comes in.
That's where your guitar comes in. And really, you just got to practice. That's all. But, that's why we take the rod out so that the loom for, it expands even more. And then you have great warp.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to make everybody proud. I promise I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to get this little bar out and not mess it up.
Yeah. It's not, the loom police are not going to come and get you, but it is what,
right.
It is what makes the warp so fabulous on the Jewel Loom is when, just that next step of when it expands. And so, it's this. Wow. I'm just going to give myself a shout out.
Give yourself a pat on the back. You did so good.
Yeah, right. For having to switch and stand up and go upside down. It came out really great.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is just amazing. Now I know that you were talking about, I think you have some subscription boxes. Is that correct?
Oh, you're so kind to ask. You know what I have, and it's funny because we were talking about this yesterday. I have a monthly online workshop.
Okay.
So it's very different from the other boxes in that I literally design something every month for my subscribers.
Okay.
And in some cases it can be a loom. So in July, they all got the big girl. They were the first. Oh. They were the first. I was like, do you trust me? I'm like, it's going to cost a little extra in shipping. Do you trust me? And they had no idea. I did that to them a couple of times last year because I just can't. I'm like, I'll just make stuff and be like, okay. So it's a workshop and I design something and then I curate everything to go in there. And then I also have the ability to make all these wood items. So we'll do wooden charms if it makes sense. In January, I did these adorable flower charms. There's 7 of them that came
Cute.
in the kit. And then, you know, they get the buttons, and it's all my artwork. So it's all very exclusive. And I just love on them. I just love on them like a lot all month long. And it's it's just my way to serve and to give back. And it's really you know, the reviews are great, and I love each and every one of these ladies. And so, yeah, so February, I'm getting ready to ship. It's been staring at me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get that out of here. So yeah. So yeah, I have that.
Years, it will be Valentine's Day. So yeah, you're halfway through the month.
I don't know if you heard about the love cuff.
Oh, I love it.
Do you know what happened with this?
No.
Okay, so for giggles, one night I did like a 21, I did a time lapse, right?
Uh-huh.
So like every once in a while, if I get a moment, right, and I'm just like, okay, I'll time lapse this, and I want a red bracelet. So I do that, and I upload it to the YouTubes, and I do a short, you know, because that's like all the things now, right? You got to do a short on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I post it, and it's like a day and a half or 2 days later, and I'm like, you know, put my glasses on. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like 179,000 views, right?
Yeah.
And then within the next couple of days, there's like 400,000.
Wow.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's because I named it the love cuff.
Maybe.
Because I started looking at the analytics, and I'm like, why are all these men liking my bracelet? I'm like, go figure, like my first viral anything, you know. But it was so stinking fun, and it's really super easy to make. It's 5 across. Yeah, I got my glasses on. 5 across, warped with hemp, and it's just a 6 millimeter bead.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. So yeah. And I brought a couple, you know, I would say if you're just getting started, you know, you can do simple friendship bracelets. I love to tell people just to make it easy on themselves, you know, do your 6 millimeters, because you can see the hole. You know, if you want to upgrade a little bit, you could do your little picot stitch on the sides of your friendship bracelet. You know, don't make it so like, you know, like this is obviously more advanced.
Yeah. Don't make it just have fun.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool. So if somebody wanted to join, like get one of the subscriptions, or they want to find out more about you, where do we go on the www to find out more about you?
The www is Jewel Loom. So JEWELLOOM.com.
Okay.
And then there's the Jewel Loom School. So jewelloomschool.com. And that's where I have put like a plethora of how to use, which is a lot of free stuff, right? So anytime you buy one of the looms, and that's where the subscribers go for their paid content as well. Okay. And then pretty much everything is Jewel Loom except for there's a Jewel Loom Instagram, but there's also the Julianna Avelar Instagram. So
yes. That is fantastic. I cannot thank you enough for all I learned so many little tips and tricks on this little guide.
Yay.
And I cannot wait to put those tips and tricks to action, and to make you proud and take the little bar out.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I know. I wish I could just come down the street and come see you. And
I know, man, imagine the videos we could make.
I can.
Gosh, I love it. Well,
thank you.
No, thank you. And again, we learned so much. Again, guys, go and check Julianna out, because it is amazing what you can learn from her and her looms. And you will be getting an order from Kelly Dell for that Mac Daddy, because on a side note, I have major like FOMO right now looking behind you at your hats. I love hats.
Those are
amazing.
And that there's a tiny little beaded hat band on there. It's hard to see on the black one, but
yes.
And I'm just going to tell you something, that she's nowhere yet. And I've been praying about this.
Okay.
And I want her to be with somebody who will love on her. And I know you're going to love on her.
I would so love on her, because let me tell you, I have been watching all of these wonderful indigenous beaders on TikTok and how they bead their hats, and the big thing now is beading the rim, which I definitely want to do.
So
but
cool.
I'm into these hats right now. Like, I love a good hat, and I want a hat band. Like, I've been sitting here going, now how can I take this and make a hat band that's going to be big enough for my head?
You'd have to sew a lot of pieces together, but you could, but on the large warrior, it's definitely easy peasy.
That would make my life so easy on that day. Oh Lord. All right. Fantastic. Well, I will hit you up, because I definitely want to learn more about the loom and be a subscriber and all of that. And I hope that a lot of other people will show you some love and let you know and say thanks for all that you do for our beading community and all that
you're so kind.
You have a gift. The Lord has given you an amazing gift, and
thank you. Really has
that gift for us.
My teary eyes. It's really a gift, and I'm so honored, and I just keep praying about, like, what do you want me, where do you want me to go? And it's so beautiful. It's so healing too, and I love the idea of weaving scripture. It's really been my ultimate goal to try to figure out. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as you were talking earlier, and you were saying, that beading is like, it's therapy, honestly.
Yeah.
Therapy for people. And there are times when I go and I do a video and I'm like, why do I do this? Like, really, like, nobody really wants this anymore. Why do I continue to do this and put myself through some of the comments that, we put ourselves out there, we get comments, and it is what it is. We don't live in a kind world right now. And so I always go, why? But then somebody sends an email or they send something and they say, listen, I was going through chemo, or my husband or my spouse or my girlfriend or whatever was going through chemo or was going through this hard time. And I sat and I watched your videos and you taught me something. And I mean, when I do that, when they tell me that, I'm just like, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel like you're in that place as well. You are doing what you are given that talent to do. And we can't get any luckier than that, man. I'm telling you.
The greatest gift is to wake up every morning and see that somebody has used the Jewel Loom to make something in all parts of the world. It's like crazy. And that is like the best gift ever, because they have such joy that they made something, and I'm so grateful that they share it. And you're just absolutely right. There's just a tremendous amount of healing and, just a lot and being creative. So it's definitely a blessing. I'm so happy. And okay, Off the Beaded Path, because I'm going to tell all my peeps too, they got to go see you. Are you physically open? Like, people can come in and
Yeah. Well, my physical bead store. Yeah, we are here. We still have some kind of limited hours for the winter.
Okay.
Because right now, like last week, the high here was 30 degrees, and nobody wants to get out, and that I understand. So we do have some limited hours, but you can always find me, of course, at offthebeadedpath.beadstore.com.
Yeah. Okay. And I will share that love for sure.
Yes. As one of my favorite podcasters says, she says, I'm incredibly easy to find at AnnieFDowns.com. Like she's that way everywhere. And I always feel like I am incredibly easy to find.
Oh, that's so cool. Try to make it simple. That's my motto. Easy peasy. Keep it simple.
So guys, thank you, Julianna. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure to come back next week, guys, because we are going to be working with some new UV resin, and I cannot wait to show you. So happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and y'all have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye.